Hi guys, thanks for joining me today to talk with me. I am going to be talking to you guys about the Whoop Band. And if you guys aren't familiar with Whoop Bands, basically it is a company that came out in 2015. It is similar to the Fit Bands that they track many different things such as your recovery, your strain, your heart rate quality, and it's mostly kind of just health related. And they came out originally just for people in general, like one person who wants to just help their health and fitness improve. But recently in 2016, 2017, 2019, and then more recently 2021, they have come out with more advanced technology that is more student athlete and kind of athlete specific oriented, which kind of measures more of the strain percentage that gets put on your body throughout the day within athletics and just competing, training, and trying to get ready for competitions. So here at the University of South Carolina, we have been denied the ability to get sponsored by this certain brand by our athletics department. So we did do a survey last year on whether we would like to have these for the student athletes or not. And every student athlete either submitted the answer, yes, would love to have it, or the only other answer that was submitted within the survey was, I would like to know more information since this brand is new and there's not kind of a big known thing about it. And there's not many people that have been using it since it just came out in the recent years, especially with the 3.0 coming out and the 4.0. But there have been many other collegiate sports teams that have been using it. Most recently, the University of Southern California and the University of Tennessee have partnered with Whoop Band and have allowed, well, University of Tennessee allows all of their student athletes to use them and kind of they are able to track their fitness, their health goals, anything that they would like to. The University of Southern California, they offer them to more specific teams such as their football team, baseball team, and teams that they were doing studies on to see how this affects student athletes. And within the study done at the University of Southern California, they have seen that all on their baseball team, their student athletes were more able to understand how their body works, develops, and kind of how big of a strain athletics and academics combined can put on your body. So basically how the strain component works within the Whoop Band is it rates you on your day from a scale to 0 to 100, and 100 being the most strain that can be put on your body. So that would be in the red, and then the less strain you have on your body, the number that it gives you back would go orange, yellow, and then to green. And I mean, especially me, I wouldn't really use that as a measure. I mean, I know after a long day, I would say, oh, I'm tired, but I wouldn't really kind of see that as a strain on my body. I would just see that as just another day going at it. So the biggest thing that they found within that baseball team was the lack of knowledge that their student athletes had on sleep and how it can affect you and the recovery process within that. So the recovery within on the Whoop Band, it goes by the same kind of schedule. It goes on your day to day, and it gives you recovery on sleep at the end of the day. And so you can see exactly how much recovery you got from the night before. And within this recovery, it takes into account the strain you had on that day, how much sleep you got, the quality of sleep, and it even measures your REM sleep. So how much kind of deep dreaming sleep that you're getting while your body can recover. So within that, they saw that their student athletes were getting 70% and below, and half their team is scoring 50% and below. So that was very negative results. And the student athletes did not understand why their numbers were so low. But when they went further into studies, they showed that getting more information on the strain on your body, along with the sleep like deficit that they were getting and not getting enough of it, took a huge toll on the body and their health. So I believe that other schools having this information and this type of technology gives them somewhat of an advantage because they're able to use this information to their benefit. And Kristen Holmes says in an article done with the University of Tennessee student athletes that the Whoop is a perfect tool for athletes to deepen their understandings of their body and their health in general, which I feel would be a huge tool because I'm super into kind of figuring out how I can be my best. And I think that this tool would help that. But here at the University of South Carolina, like I said before, we were denied this. So their biggest issue with this basically was our privacy rights. And within the Whoop Band, they do get all this information on us, and they would be collecting basically every single student athlete's information, which our athletics department was not really a big fan of, and they weren't wanting to get on board with that since it is our personal information putting out there. But I believe that by talking to our athletic director, Ray Tanner, and then our athletic training, John Kasich, he is the head of that. They kind of both came together and came to the decision that we should not have it. But I think talking to them and kind of going into more of how it should be our decision, what we want done with our privacy and our information and how we think it could benefit us, I think we would be able to kind of change their minds on that. Just because I know, at least knowing that many different colleges have access to this information kind of makes me feel like our university in a way is on a lower level, especially when we're competing with teams within our own conference in the SEC, such as Tennessee, them having the ability to like use this information. I just feel like we're at a bit of a disadvantage, and that it would level the playing field if we were allowed the right to use this. So yeah, I just think if the athletics department truly wants us to kind of go in the right direction, be the best that we can be, which is kind of what we preach, is being the best you can be with your team, being the best you can be as an individual. I think it would help us not only in college, but having this information can help us in the long run in life and just figuring out exactly how our body works. Because in a nutrition's article, it was shown that a physician who used this since 2017, he was able to understand how his body worked more efficiently and how more specifically his body worked, how he could use that to kind of get the best results out of his workouts and his sleep and his nutrition. And he said that this would be great for all people, not just student athletes. But I feel that it would help us just in life in general and even past college. So it would be a great impact on all student athletes. So that was basically it. And I would like to open up for discussion or any questions that you guys have on this.
Yeah, I think you make all great points. I think it's really interesting that, like down to the technology of like, Apple Watches, they all like track your everything, your every move, obviously, because they want to give you the right statistics for it. And I think it's also interesting that South Carolina like doesn't approve of that because they say that they want to protect your privacy. But how do you personally feel about it? Like, I know you shared that it would be like more effective and you feel like you're being put at a disadvantage, but like, would you care if your kind of like your privacy or your information was like out there?
Well, personally, like I would love to have this. I've even talked to my own personal trainer for just that's sport specific to our team about it. And I kind of was asking like, why can't we get this? And she was kind of talking about more of the privacy rights that they were trying to protect for us. And I was like, dude, I don't really care about that. Like, I want the numbers, I want the results of what I'm getting. And I mean, like, we have our phones that gives information to Apple or whoever like you have your provider as. So I just feel like all of our information's already out there. Like I'm already being tracked as it is. So like, what is them having kind of my health numbers in a way, or like those numbers I don't feel are very like personal to me. I mean, it is a very personal kind of like measurement that's being taken, but I just feel like that number that they're taking within like the sleep recovery and the strain, all of that, I just feel like those aren't things that I would need protected in a way, especially because I am a student athlete. So I don't know, I just feel like if we had access to this, we can see like if our team is really struggling with a certain aspect that these like wristbands do kind of track, like we would be able to improve so much better and just be able to use it. So yeah, I think we should just be able to have it in general.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And do you know anyone, like any personal testimonies of people that have used this?
Yeah, so I have 3 teammates who do have it, but they don't have the kind of sponsorship such as the other schools have. So it is a $400 a year membership that you pay for, and then the wristband comes with that for free. So it's basically or essentially like the membership you're paying for to get these numbers. But I do have a transfer teammate who came from FSU. So at Florida State, their whole team was given them, and it was kind of also an accountability thing is the way she explained it to me. So they were able to like keep each other accountable on sleep, recovery, strain. You could see what time you were going to sleep, waking up. So in a way, I guess I could see how the privacy thing could come and act there, where like a coach can see what time you went to sleep, what time you woke up. But I also believe that like we came here to play like a collegiate sport, so we should be accountable for them to have that information on us. And she said like nothing but positive came out of it. They were able to hold each other more accountable, and they had kind of like a within the Whoop, if you are sponsored by them or kind of have this partnership with them, they do have like a little team thing so you can see all your teammates' results. So, she examples like she would give me was, oh, if my teammate was upset that day or like looked tired, like I would just go pop in, look at her recovery she got that night, and I would see it was really low. So obviously she probably wouldn't be in the best of mood that day. So I mean, everyone on my team that is doing it now, it kind of makes me mad a little bit because at practices they'll be like, oh, I got 80% recovery. And I'm like, well, I wish I knew like what my recovery was last night or like how much strain I had. So I knew like what was going on exactly in my body and how I can like improve how I'm feeling. So yeah.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I feel like it could either like foster a bit too close of a relationship or like a more trustful relationship. It just depends on how you use the tool. So very interesting. Thanks.
Yeah, so I like how you pointed out how this could kind of help pinpoint a certain issue on your team. And I think that because you guys are so young and your lifestyle is kind of like a factor of your performance, do you think that implementing this like band can kind of bring up kind of a negative conversation that a university might not want to have about the draining lives of like being a student athlete? And that's maybe why they might not implement it.
I definitely think that could be a factor, especially when it comes to NCAA rulings with practice times and all of that, because we do have limits that we can be doing on the field. And, sometimes we do go over a little bit and it kind of just gets swept under the rug or just things like that happen. So I think definitely if like our athletics compliance department were to get a hold of our information, they were seeing that we were having rigorous activity for more than 4 hours and we're limited to 4 hours a day, then that definitely could raise some red flags. So maybe that is why. But I mean, here at the University of South Carolina, we do very well on our hours wise, and our compliance always comes out and has meetings with us. So I feel like we do a good enough job staying on top of our numbers and the amount of like stress we're putting on ourselves or that our coaches and trainers are putting on us that it shouldn't really raise crazy red flags for them to be able to use that information, like kind of against our coaching staff about practice and stuff like that. So
Yeah, I kind of understand how it can kind of seem that way. And I'm just curious, are people kind of using their own kind of tools right now to kind of track their performance? Like, do people use like Apple Watches or do they have their own kind of Whoop band sets that they use and it's just not implemented as a partnership yet?
yeah, so Apple Watches you cannot have within collegiate sports, just more specifically because you can communicate with those and they're basically like smartwatch technology. So those we're not allowed to have on the field. So those you can use, or at least here for like our softball team, we're not allowed to have those on the field just because it's kind of more of a focusing up during practice thing. They don't want a distraction of like you're getting notifications on it. And same thing in game. Since it is like something you could communicate, like you can use the walkie-talkie on there, text messages. So they don't want people to be able to use that to relay information. But people definitely use like the Fitbit. I think that's another one that people use. And I've seen my teammates use those before. But more recently, I've seen a lot of people kind of flip over to going to the Whoop band since it does calculate so much more than all of these other brands are offering, and them coming out with their more like recent versions such as the 3.0 and the 4.0. Those ones are more specifically targeted towards athletes and to give them the information that kind of we're going to look for the most within kind of the data that they're giving us. So
Thank you.
thank you for your questions.
So my question would be, I heard you talk about how in the SEC, typically that South Carolina is towards the bottom or middle of the conference, which I actually agree because in most sports, especially in track and field, since that's what I'm with, typically our men's standing, we're towards the bottom / middle. And, we normally have Georgia that's way at the top, Alabama who's way at the top. My question for you would be, how much better as a team or even you as a personal athlete, how much better do you think y'all would become or get if you had access to the Whoop bands like all these other top schools?
So this is kind of embarrassing, but last year we did place last in the SEC. So we were I literally at the bottom. So I think any advantage that we could get to kind of be on the same level or even have an advantage over other SEC teams in our conference would help us get better. And I know, like you asked me more specifically myself, last year I was definitely not getting enough sleep. I wasn't getting like good nutrition. I was putting way too much strain on my body. But, since I didn't know, I was a freshman last year, I didn't really know how that worked. And I was kind of like, oh, well, I'll just get 3 hours of sleep tonight, just go to practice, get through it. But I feel like if I had the information last year on it, I would have been like, wow, I'm literally getting probably 20% recovery every night and I'm putting an 80% strain on my body. So this year I definitely put kind of sleep more of as a priority to myself. And I definitely got like better results that I've been seeing in game and practice. So I think having this information, it would be easier for people to make that switch straight over to, oh, this could help me improve my results immediately if I start sleeping more, putting less strain on my body, kind of cutting out habits that I don't really need to be doing. So I definitely think I don't know, if our whole team had it, we would probably go up in rankings at least by like 4 or 5 spots, which doesn't seem like a lot when we have 13 in our conference, but compared to like being last, like that's a huge step up. So
Oh no, I definitely agree with you. And going up 4 or 5 spots in the SEC is actually much of an accomplishment than people realize. Because in my opinion, the SEC is definitely the hardest conference to play in. I don't care what anybody says. But my second question to you would be, I heard you talk a little bit about a guy who was studying the Whoop bands and how he said that they wouldn't only be great for athletes, they would be great for everyday people. So do you think that everyday people, who aren't athletes, like just people who go to work and come back home, do you think they should buy the Whoop bands too, or do you think it's something that only athletes should have?
I would definitely say they should buy the original versions or the 2.0. I would kind of not recommend going the 3.0, 4.0 route since it specifically says like when they're selling it, it's for the elite athletes who are wanting to get training numbers back. So in that sense, it wouldn't really make sense for just an ordinary person to get it because why would they need information on like their heart rate during rigorous strain unless if they were wanting that like more specifically for the workout. So I think it's more personalized towards you and the numbers that you're wanting to get back. But I think that it would be great for anyone, especially like in my family, at least I know like both my mom and dad have like high blood pressure. So them having like the ability to have this information right on the wrist and kind of having it tracked on their phone. Whoop also offers a journal. So it kind of journals your health throughout the day for you, kind of shows when you were the most stressed, like when your blood pressure was the highest, like when your kind of heart rate was the highest. So you can see the habits that you form throughout your day. And I think like any person in the world could use that to their benefit. So they could kind of take out stressors and be kind of the best version of themselves by using this information. So
I think you make a great point, but that's all I had for you. So thank you.
thank you guys for the questions and listening to me today.